The Swedish maid took Casey's hat, gave him one of her rare smiles, and informed him that he would find the Mrs. and Mr. in the bar. He trekked across the vast living room to the glassed-in alcove overlooking the swimming pool. He was an early arrival. Only two other guests were at the bar in the alcove. The producer jumped off his stool and came forward with outstretched hands. "Congratulations, Casey. You've turned out a sure winner this time. We may even get an Academy nomination out of it." Maddox had a magnificent head of gray hair over a perpetual smile. He was a heavy-set man in his mid-50s who was beginning to run to fat. His usual affability was offset by a pair of shrewd gray eyes. There was very little that escaped them. "Or are you sick of my routine rosy prediction?" "Do you get sick of my routine gloom?" Casey said. "Thank God I don't pay you for your optimism." "Thank God, Joe. I'd starve to death." The truth was, Joe Maddox's genius lay in pleasing audiences rather than critics. He had an innate sense of the popular. Ill Wind, Casey knew, was a rattling good suspense script, tailor-made for Maddox's directorial talents, and it would undoubtedly make a lot of money. But Casey had no illusions about its artistic merits. It was a slick piece of scenario craftsmanship with some original twists of plot. That was all. It had no more relationship to life than a James Bond story, and no significance at all. "I should have been a poet," Casey thought, and grinned at himself. "Well," Maddox said, "you'll win an Oscar yet. What's your pleasure, Casey?" "My usual, Joe." The Chinese houseman, Lin, who was tending bar, handed Casey a scotch on the rocks. "When I win an Oscar, I'll figure I did something wrong." Nina Maddox said, "I thought it was wonderful, Casey. Oh, I'd love to play the part of Maria." Blake threw a smile at the producer's wife. Nina Wojciechowski had immigrated to Hollywood from Buffalo 3 years earlier with the usual stars in her lovely Polish eyes. She had failed to land even TV bit parts, and she finally settled for a stenographic job at MCP. There she had achieved a different success by netting the big boss as a husband. Perpetual bachelor Joe Maddox did a total flip-flop over the beautiful redhead. They had been married for 2 years. The marriage seemed happy in spite of their 30-year age difference. Casey Blake was sure that Maddox's millions had a great deal to do with Nina's instant yes. Still, she seemed genuinely fond of her middle-aged husband. If her fondness was more filial than wifely, Maddox pretended not to notice. He was crazy about her. Casey said, "Don't look at me, Nina. Joe does the casting. Talk to him about the part." Maddox frowned, and Nina pouted. "Joe won't let me have a career." "You know where I think a wife's place should be," Maddox said to his young wife. "Why would anyone want to lead the lousy life of an actor?" "You ought to know, Joe," Sam Christopher said with a chuckle. "You led the life of a lousy actor long enough. Whoops, excuse me, the lousy life of an actor." Sam Christopher was a first cousin of the producer's. During Joe Maddox's days as a character actor, Sam had been Maddox's stand-in and double. Aside from a similarity of age and build, there was no particular likeness. Although he had the same fleshy face, Christopher was nearly bald, his nose was smaller, and his mouth wider. On the set, a wig and studio makeup had taken care of the difference. Off-screen, they bore little resemblance to each other. Sam Christopher was Maddox's jack-of-all-work at MCP. Officially listed as one of the producer's assistants, Christopher was no mere yes-man and errand boy. The two were closer than brothers, and Maddox listened more carefully to his cousin's advice than to that of anyone else on his staff. "Stop pulling Joe's leg, Sam," said Sally Baird. "I've seen Joe's character work on 1,000 late shows. He was good." "Flattery will get you nowhere, Sally," laughed Maddox. "Or are you bucking for another raise?" "No, Joe, I mean it," said Sally. "And you must have enjoyed acting, or you wouldn't have been so good at it." "I suppose I got some sort of ego satisfaction out of it." "There, you see," cried Nina. "Doesn't